I want to make refried beans, I will grab a can of Rositas. But I have tasted Maria's Frioles. And I have had the pleasure and the endeavor to make Maria's Frioles. Tonight, I'm going to show Bellingham Evening Toastmasters how to make Maria's Frioles. And more importantly, I've brought some Maria's Frioles for you all to try when we're done this evening. I should remind you that these Frioles are hot, so be prepared. A friend of ours has had Maria as an employee for over 10 years. She has made her Frioles for many occasions for her employee. One day he decided to ask her if she would put on a class for some friends of his. She agreed, and we were invited, Mel and I. This friend of ours has a dairy farm out in Ferndale, and he turned one of his barns into what he called a party barn. The bottom of the barn was turned into a beautiful commercial kitchen with restrooms, but a phenomenal commercial kitchen. Upstairs, the loft was immaculate. It had 3 televisions on the walls, but what was striking was he had a big, huge table so that he could share dinners with his friends and families. And we had the pleasure of going and taking the class and eating not only the Maria's Frioles, but Pacific shrimp, salad. It was wonderful. And then a month later, I got the Frioles recipe in the mail. So I decided to share that recipe with you this evening. I got out on the day I planned to make these beans, I got all the ingredients together. There were 10. I had 3 ingredients: water, salt, and oil. So I had to run to the store. I didn't run, really. I drove to the store and picked up the ingredients that I needed to make these Frioles. I came home, got my pot out, filled up the water 4 inches above the beans, and I'm using coffee beans tonight because I didn't use the beans, and covered it up with water. Put some salt in and let it boil. I had to get it up to a boil, and that took about 15 minutes. And then I let it boil for 15 minutes, like I said, and then you turn it onto a high simmer. At that time, I decided, well, I need to go to Walmart and get this tool. This is an immersion blender. They had it at our class, and I'm like Patrick, I don't like to spend on frivolous things, but I had tried my blender and it wasn't going to work. So I did run to Walmart to get the immersion blender. Came back and started the beans. They start to get soft, and you don't want to get the beans so they're so soft that they start breaking apart. How many of you have made beans from scratch? Raise your hand. Okay, great, good. Well, beans are great. They're very nutritionless, very nutritional. Yes, they have nutrition. They have fiber. They have fiber. And one thing I learned is that they are high in folic acid. Folic acid is very important in making our cells, and that's important. I should mention that when I got back from Walmart, I washed my hands and the water was boiling. I got out tuna and I opened up the tuna can, got the tuna, and I squeezed out the water, put it in a bowl, and then I got out sardines. Sardines in tomato sauce. Now I had sardines, but they were in oil. The next time I make this Maria's Friolis, I will probably use sardines in oil and just add the tomato sauce, because these sardines came a long way. And I don't think we need to be buying sardines so far away. It's kind of a cool can though. Okay, so I ended up putting those two together. And tuna, as most of you are probably aware, is high in protein. High in protein, low in calories, and protein, or tuna is unfortunately high in the food chain, so you don't want to be eating it too many days of the week because it does have mercury. Where sardines, on the other hand, are plankton eaters. And if the water is clear, or is healthy, then you're going to get a sardine that has just been living off of plankton. And sardines, if they're caught in the wild, they have a lot of protein, omega-3, and calcium and potassium. So sardines are a very good food source. And so it's another, we want to encourage clean waters. There were sardines all up along the coast of the coast of California and Oregon and Washington for many, many years. And right now, they're not here. So I hope that they can come back again. Next, I started cooking chorizo. Never have bought chorizo before in my life. Chorizo is a pork product. This particular Johnsonville chorizo sausage is a premium pork with no nitrates, no nitrites. But if you have a concern about fat and sodium, you might want to stay away from chorizo. You can substitute it with chicken, beef, tofu, and even there is a vegan product out there that you can use. So Maria's recipe asked for, or wants you to use chorizo. When the beans were done, I rinsed them very carefully with hot water and started using my new immersion blender. Very cool tool. You just sit there and go like this. Okay? So you can imagine why my blender didn't work. You know, you put it in and it just gets all gobbed up. So this is a very cool tool. I hope to figure out some other uses for it. In a short time, I was able to get the desired smooth consistency of refried beans. I added tapio sauce to my beans after they were drained. Tapio sauce is just hot sauce. No calories, hot. And I actually probably put a little bit too much of the tapio. It's a brand name. It's a brand name. I actually bought a big bottle of tapio sauce, and I realized I don't need this much, and so I went back and I got Valentina, okay, because I didn't want to open up this big bottle and have it in my fridge for the next 3 years. I then added to the beans a half a cup of oil, just regular oil, and that's something that you can play with maybe. If you're used to using coconut oil or any of the other oils, you know, that's what's fun about cooking from scratch, you start learning that you might be able to use another product that might be a healthier product for you. And I added the oil and the chorizo to the beans. I stirred constantly. You have to be stirring constantly, taking up the bottom so that you don't end up getting the beans burnt. Okay? So I did that, and then at the same time, I started sauteing the tuna and the sardine mixture. So I had two things going. I had the beans over here with the chorizo and the hot sauce, and then I had the sardines and the tuna over here. And it took about 8 minutes to get the fish, so it was nice and tender and smooth again. And then when that was done, I piled it all into the beans and mixed it all up, constantly scraping off the bottom, stirring the contents. And this was about 15 minutes that this was going on. Then, after everything was all mixed up, I just put it in a bowl and decided I'm going to give a contest on making these beans. I enjoyed the process of making Maria's beans, and with the ease of the internet, I was able to learn a little bit about the products that I put in. So I hope that you've learned how to make Maria's Frijoles and consider having a party for yourself, making some kind of food source. And that's it.